Ready? Start. Sir, the private members bill moved by Honorable Member points out that there are a number of limitations in the functioning of the regional rural banks. It is his view that by amending the existence law, we can improve the working of the regional rural banks. The point is well taken that we need to improve the working of the regional rural banks. But let us look at why these regional rural banks were first set up. The objective of a regional rural bank is to focus on the development of agriculture, trade, commerce, and other productive activities, particularly for the small and marginal farmers, agricultural laborers, artisans, and small entrepreneurs in the rural areas. Therefore, an RRB would be able to carry banking to these neglected sections of the people only if its focus is limited to an area, and its focus should not be completely diffused and it begins to function like a universal bank. Today, RRBs are being sponsored largely by the public sector banks, and some RRBs are sponsored by private sector banks. If we accept the suggestion made by Honorable Member that for an RRB established in a group of union territories or union territory, the government will be the central government, and in a state government it will be the state government concerned, and if it is in a group of states it will be the group of state government concerned. Then I think it will create complete confusion over the control over these banks. Today, the line of control is clear. Either the nationalized banks sponsor the RRB, or it is a private bank that sponsors the RRB, and the license is given by the Reserve Bank of India. If we alter the system of control, then I am afraid the whole system would have to be built from scratch, and it is not possible to build it from scratch anymore because the rural banks today have taken deep roots. On the other hand, if NABARD is to take over these RRBs, then there will be a conflict of interest between NABARD, as it is a supervisory and regulatory agency, and at the owner of the banks. In fact, one reason why the ownership of Bank West in the central government and Regulation West in the Reserve Bank is that the regulatory functions and the ownership functions must be separate. NABARD is the supervisory cum regulatory body for all agriculture credit related banks, and I do not think that the regulator and the supervisor should also become the owner of the banks. So the RRBs today have improved their functioning. RRBs today are one of the most important arms of our agricultural credit operations, along with public sector banks and cooperative banks. RRBs lend to farmers, and in the last few years, RRBs have done very well as far as agriculture credit is concerned. In fact, they have done much better than we expected. Now, if we look at the credit growth rate of RRBs, it has significantly increased over the 5 years. During the last 5 years, the compound average growth rate is over 20%. A major portion of RRB's deposits were mobilized from villagers. Sponsors bank have invested money in RRBs. NABARD has given both short-term and long-term credit. In fact, I am very happy with the performance of RRBs, especially in the last year. The agriculture sector has received agricultural loans from RRBs in a very large proportion. Therefore, I think the present system has stabilized and is working well. Let us look at some other performance indicators of RRBs. The number of Kisan credit cards issued by RRBs is about 15 lakhs. The number of farmers club promoted by RRBs is about 6,000. What we have done in the last year, we have made the sponsor banks squarely responsible for the functioning of RRBs. So accountability has been fixed. We have asked every sponsor bank to nominate a senior officer at the level of general manager to supervise the functioning of RRBs. Therefore, there is a clear line of authority. It flows from RRB chairman to the general manager of the sponsor bank and to the board and the chairman and managing director of the sponsor bank. The sponsor bank today takes the responsibility of training officers in RRBs. In fact, the pay scales are now equal. Senior officers are deputed from sponsored bank to the RRBs. RRBs are also becoming as good in terms of knowledge and competence as the sponsor bank, except that they are functioning it at a much decentralized level and they cater to very different customers than the customers of sponsors bank. So perhaps there was a reason when sponsors member introduced this bill, but that reason is no longer valid. After seeing the working of RRBs, I think we must warmly compliment the functioning of RRBs and allow them to continue to do the good work in the coming years. If we encounter any practical difficulties, we will certainly address those practical difficulties. However, I respectfully submit that this is not the time to bring about any radical change either in the law or in the manner in which RRBs are structured or are working. There is also, I respectfully submit, no case for a national rural bank. That has not been recommended by many committees, including the latest committee. That will only mean that we create a monolith and we dilute the focus of RRBs, which is local bank for a local area, focusing on the needs of the local population. We are now encouraging a sponsor bank to horizontally integrate all RRBs sponsored by it and functioning in one state. That is the first step towards consolidation within the state. I think all state governments, leaving maybe one or two have agreed to this idea. So, if a sponsor bank has more than one RRB in one state, those RRBs are being consolidated and brought under the one name and one umbrella. I think that effort must be allowed to succeed. I think most of it will happen in the current year. I am confident that by the end of the year, I will be able to report that RRBs have done better and have improved upon their performance from last year. Therefore, I would most respectfully request honorable member to withdraw his bill. Source is 2017, exercise number is 2, words are 1061 and speed is 100.